All right. So welcome and hello. It's so good to be with you. So good indeed. And today we are covering the topic of Introduction to Iridology. We're going to be together for probably 30 to 45 minutes. I used to try to do these in 20 minutes and I realized it is just not doable. So 30 to 45 minutes, maybe a bit longer depending on questions. As we do this, it's important that we recognize that there are many types of iridology and many iridology philosophies. Our focus today specifically is the up-to-date and scientifically validated constitutional iridology. I hope you'll permit me to introduce myself just a little bit. Some of you are new to me and I'm so happy you're here. Those of you whose names I recognize, welcome. I'm glad you're with me as well. I am a master herbalist, natural nutrition clinical practitioner, certified iridologist, and certified comprehensive iridology instructor. I have been a holistic health coach for 40 years, and this is what I did instead of doing anything else with my life. This was my calling in life. Over those years, I have studied several different styles of iridology, and about 30 years ago, I left the Jensenian style because it just wasn't working for me. It wasn't making sense. I wasn't getting the results that people said that my teachers said I should be getting as far as eyes changing and things like that. It was frustrating and it really made me question whether I had chosen the right career path. Just as I was totally frustrated and about to leave iridology altogether and contemplated leaving holistic health altogether as well, I was blessed to have the opportunity to learn constitutional iridology, and oh my goodness, was that a life changer and a game changer for me. It was it. As I learned constitutional and as I figured out a way to apply it successfully in my practice, I realized that I'd found my niche. I'd found where I belonged. And because of that, I created a course. And then I became certified eventually with IPA as an instructor. I've been off and on certified as an iridologist with them since 1993. And just a few years back, decided to certify as an instructor with them as well. And those were some serious hoops to jump through. Absolutely. So, all right, here are the questions. Here are the questions that I am going to answer today. And just before we went live, I asked the people who are on the webinar if they had any questions for me, and they invited them to submit them so that I could make sure I answered those as well. So we will be answering a question in there, but it's going to be embedded in this. Marina, you're going to see your answer is actually going to be covered as we answer these questions. So listen for it. And if you feel like that I've missed something, any of you, if you feel like I've missed something or there's something else you need extra information on in the scope of an introduction, please type it in the chat box or in the questions box. So today, the questions we are focusing on are: what is iridology? Why does it work? What can it teach us? And how should it be used? So again, if you have any other questions, go ahead and type them in the Q&A box or in the chat box, and I will try to get to those. Those of you who are with me on Facebook or on Instagram, if you are not, if I don't see your comments, please know that I will come back to you and I will answer your questions as we are after the event, right? I'll make sure you get the answers you need. Excellent. All right. So what is iridology? Iridology is the study of the colored part of the iris, right? It is the colored part of the iris, the colored part of the eye. So when we look at an eyeball, this is the iris. And when we talk about iridology, we are talking about the study of everything in here. It is correctly pronounced iridology, not iridology. Iridology would be, I guess, studying your ears. Iridology is about studying the irides or of the eyes. And so this is iridology. Now, when we look at iridology, we need to recognize that modern iridologists also include a study of the sclera. So sclerology. Now, why do we do this? Well, the iris is inherently dictated. So this shows us the genetic strengths and weaknesses and gives us understanding of things. The sclera shows us what is current, what is dynamic, what is going on now. And when we look at things in the sclera, it may be that what we're seeing are markings that tell us about situations that are preclinical, that are asymptomatic as of yet. So why does iridology work? The eyeballs are the largest neural receptors of your body. So when we look at the eyeballs themselves, they are connected directly to the brain via one nerve length. So if you think about the nerves that go to your hand to tell you when you've touched something that's really hot, there are several, from the brain to the fingertips, there are several nerves that have synaptic gaps. So it's nerve to nerve to nerve to nerve to nerve, right? When we look at eyes and vision, this is one nerve fiber. The optic nerve is one nerve fiber, which means that the eye itself is actually the neural receptor. So just as you've got a neural receptor in your finger that senses heat, but that message then goes to the next nerve, to the next nerve, to the next nerve, to the next nerve, instantaneously, the eyeball is the neural receptor that is connected directly to the brain. What we do know about the irides is they've got 28,000 nerve endings just in the irides themselves. We don't know what they all do yet. Why does this work though? Why? Well, the eye, because it is actually a part of the nervous system, develops embryologically at the same time as the nervous system does. So since your nervous system, since your brain knows every inherent strength and weakness that is in your body, it knows if your stomach is scheduled to start underproducing acid at the age of 52. It knows if your hair is programmed to start going gray at the age of 47. And we have a little bit of input as to delaying or speeding those things up, typically speaking, right? So because the brain knows all of that, we know then that the iris also knows all of that. Remember, this is all neural receptor. So if there's a glitch, I use that term very loosely. If there's something the brain knows about something that's not inherently correct or that is inherently unusual in the body, it's going to show as some kind of a marking in the iris. Now, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking one iris marking equals one symptom equals one problem, and that's not true at all. We can't even pretend that's true, because we need to understand all of the markings in the eyes and how they all work together. So again, if there is something that the brain knows about that's an inherent predisposition, there is usually at least one marker or a set of markers in the iris. And it's important for us to remember that just because we see markings in the iris doesn't mean there's going to be a problem. Okay, we'll talk about that as we go. So what can iridology teach us? And today we're focusing on the iris in iridology. And when we're looking at the iris, it teaches us about, again, inherent potentials. It teaches us where the inherent strengths and weaknesses are. The eyes, this eye particularly, okay, so I'm just going to move my camera closer for those who are visiting with us on Instagram. Ta-da! There we go. This eye tells us this person is predisposed to spending a lot of time in their sympathetic nervous system for their responses. Do you remember what the sympathetic nervous system does? That's your fight, flight, or freeze. So people who have a lot of these rings tend to always just be on the edge of being ready to deal with the next crisis. They like to be busy. They are go-getters. They like to-do lists. They like to accomplish things, but they're also pretty intense sometimes. And they tend to overreact oftentimes to stress, especially surprise stresses. So when we see this kind of a marking in an eye, it's not a guarantee that she is going to be an overreactor. We need to ask her, how does she handle stress? We need to ask her, what does she do to mitigate stress? Right? We need to have the conversation with her. The eye says she wants to overreact, but maybe she figured that out a long time ago and she didn't like having those radical swings of, oh my goodness, crisis, crisis, right? So maybe she learned that she needed to eat certain foods, not eat other foods that could be triggers or that could deplete her B vitamins. Maybe she learned that she needs her sleep, that she needs exercise, that she does well with journaling, that there are certain supplements she should take. So when we see these eyes, while they teach us about a predisposition, they also teach us what questions to ask. Now, this client came in with recurring bladder infections and allergies. Her eyes actually suggest an increased predisposition towards allergies and infections because her liver may not want to do its job quite right. Now we're working on that constitutional level. I'm not even looking at an individual marker. I'm at that top level of constitution. So giving her herbs to fight infections would be a Band-Aid remedy. Yes, it would fight the infection, but it wouldn't be getting to the root of the problem. So instead, we wanted to go through, and we did go through her liver. We ended up doing liver support because for her, that would be a constitutional remedy. So things when we're thinking about liver support, we could consider for some people using golden seal. It's a bitter herb. It works well with getting the liver on track, and because we're getting the liver on track and because golden seal also helps to fight infections, we probably didn't need to do anything beyond that, except for maybe a comfort measure. If she came in, and she's been in several times, but when she came in, if she had an active bladder infection, I might have given her something to relieve the symptoms just to make her more comfortable. But I really wanted to make sure we worked at that deeper level, at that liver level. So again, constitutional iridology doesn't actually give us the ability to diagnose. It doesn't give us disease names. Its best use is to guide us as to where the issues may be and to help us understand why certain things are happening in the body now. Because when we understand where the issues could be and when we understand why things are happening, we then understand the pathway. So Marina, did you catch that? Marina asked, will this help in curing or only prevention of ailments? So first off, we can't say we cure anything. But as we look at the eyes, again, we understand where her challenges lie, and we understand how those challenges influence her symptoms now. And when we understand that, we can, with herbs and nutrition, address both ends of the scale. Work on the symptom to take care of the problem, to help strengthen the body so it doesn't need to have that problem anymore, and work at the root so it never needs to go back to that. Now, many of you who maybe have some Jensenian or some other styles of iridology behind you might have been taught that an eye like this is highly toxic. This person needs to cleanse. This person has a congested liver. This eye looks unhealthy. Have any of you heard things like that before? If you have, I would love it if you would let me know. We can't possibly know those things from looking at the iris alone. It's just not doable. We need to have a conversation with the client. We need to understand what their symptoms are. We need to understand what they are doing to enhance their health or that's undermining their health. We need to understand who they are so that we can address any concerns they might have on a level that will make sense to them. So I would not, in an iris assessment, go over every individual little marking with this client in one sitting. It's not necessary. Absolutely not necessary. I only need to know in this iris analysis what I need to know right now. And so as I look at this eye and I see the liver predispositions and I understand the role the liver plays in the immune system, this is why it's so important to have a solid foundation in anatomy and physiology, then it makes it so much easier for me to be able to understand why she's got the symptoms she does have and how to address those. Is this all making sense? If this is making sense, drop me a smiley face or something in the chat box. Let me know that this is landing right for you. Here's another example. So we're going to be looking at a lot of cases of eyes today and talking about them and about how to interpret them. Okay, so this is, again, a client of mine, and notice that this ring that we call the collarette is very, very close to the pupil's edge. This ring is not going to move. It's not going to ever move further away or closer in. It is inherently set right here. When we see this ring this close to the collarette, thank you, Shara, I appreciate that it's landing well for you. Thank you. When we see this collarette this close to the pupil's edge, it suggests that this client has a potential for constipation, for poor energy production as well. But we have to ask the client, because when this client first came to me, she was in her mid-30s. She was very well read holistically. And so when I asked her, and her biggest concern at that point in time was allergies, right? Her second concern was some gastrics and stomach upsets. So when I see this, I'm not going to say, oh my goodness, it looks like you're constipated, because she was well read. She was really monitoring her diet. She was eating a lot of good fruits and vegetables, mostly vegetables because of where we live. She was careful to get enough water. She wasn't drinking coffee. She was doing a lot of things that were really good. And because of that, she was not constipated. But again, the allergies were getting to her a little bit, and she had a little bit of stomach upset. So when we're talking stomach, we mean actual stomach, not gut, not abdomen. We mean stomach. So because she was doing such a good job, all we needed to do with her was add a little bit of a digestive support to her. So we added a vegetarian digestive enzyme. Not that she was vegetarian, but I liked that one because she had allergies. Allergies usually implicate the liver, and the digestive enzyme I was using with her had some herbs in it that would support the liver. But her eyes also suggested, again, that she was predisposed to allergies. And so this was a huge concern for her, and especially in relation to sinus allergies, and especially springtime allergies. When spring hits here, it hits hard. As in, we can go from having a foot of snow on the ground that has accumulated over the winter or more, and temperatures well below freezing, and it's like somebody flips a switch and spring moves in, and suddenly the snow is gone in 3 days and we're well above freezing. It's really bizarre, but it means that when spring hits, it hits hard. And so we needed to be aware of that with her and look at the indications that suggested that she might be a little more prone to mucus buildup in her body, and that she also might be a little bit prone to some of the things that other people might call leaky gut. So she had no other leaky gut symptoms except for the allergies, and allergies are a prime indicator of leaky gut. So when we worked with her, we decided again that in addition to that vague digestive enzyme, she was having, I asked her about her protein digestion. She said, yeah, that was a little bit tough, that she was avoiding certain proteins because they felt heavy in her stomach. And so we knew then that we would need to build up her hydrochloric acid. So we started supplementing that to help her with digesting her proteins more efficiently. And that and a few herbs for her sinuses that we started using seasonally with her was all we needed to do, because that's all she was interested in doing. Everything else she had under control. There was no sense in laboring other issues. Does this make sense? Now, why do I bring this kind of stuff up? Have you ever noticed that on social media, people post their poorly done cell phone photos? Typically, they're poorly done. And people who have some iridology under the belt jump all over that, and they give these long lists of all the markers, long lists of everything that means for what is absolutely wrong, and then long lists of what the person can do about it. Have you ever wondered, how does anyone follow up on a list like that, or lists like those? And it's just incredible, right? That they would do that. And I like what Shar is saying. I don't like the throw the book at it view. I don't either. I prefer working with my client where my client is, as we take care of the things that are concerning them. And of course, we're always working towards dealing with the root. But as we deal with strengthening and balancing, and the symptom that was our first concern goes away because we've strengthened them, then other symptoms come up, and then they want to know more. They want to know, well, what can you do about this problem? So using the exact same set of eye photos, we can actually go in and now look at these from a different angle and come up with what we can do to help them. And Shar also says, I cannot believe that they are saying those things, even if they are careful. We know that what we can and cannot say. Mind blown. Absolutely. We know what we can and can't say. Well, we know. They don't. And we need to teach them. They need the information that will keep them safe and will keep their clients safe. So this is the client. These are this is the eye of a client who came to me. She's in her mid-50s. Now, when you do iridology well, your clients come back. This is a client who had been to me about 20 years ago. Sadly, I didn't remember her name. I think she said I'd seen her 2 or 3 times, and I totally helped her with a sinus problem. And she didn't need me until now. So now she was coming back and going, yeah, that's great. I'm so glad you're back, right? Now she was coming back with hot flashes. Her diet, she really had her diet pretty much figured out. She has a very holistic lifestyle. Actually, her diet was so good, I was saying, can I come live with you? Right? I'm just admitting that I'm human. My diet's not perfect. It's good, pretty darn good, but it's not perfect. Her diet was better than mine. She wanted to get rid of her hot flashes. So as I looked at her eyes, I asked her about 2 things in particular. The first is her nervous system. Again, she's got these rings, which suggests that she lives in that parasympathetic nervous state where she's always waiting for the next shoe to drop, the next bomb to go off, the next crisis, the next whatever. And I asked her about how does she handle stress? What's her nervous system like? And she's a psychologist, so she could understand those terms. I could really talk at a more advanced level with her. And I asked her, if you noticed if anything makes your hot flashes worse? And she said, absolutely, yeah, stress does. I know if I'm stressed because it'll trigger an immediate series of hot flashes. Okay, so we know then that because these contraction furrows teach us that this person burns through B vitamins, vitamin C, calcium, and magnesium very quickly, we knew that we needed to do something to support that, because those are the nutrients that support the adrenal glands. And we know that hot flashes come out of the adrenal glands being unbalanced. The other thing that I needed to ask her, based on her eye color and based on this pigment right here, was, did she know if she had any issues with her liver? And that was a little more mysterious to her, so I broke it down a little bit. Did she know, was she aware of any problems digesting fats? Does she hold on to anger issues? Does she hold a grudge? And she said, no, she eats fat. She has a very Mediterranean type of diet. She's Lebanese, so she has a very Mediterranean type of diet. And she says, no, she used to have a problem with anger, but with her work as a psychologist, she's done a lot of work for herself and on herself and hired other professionals to help her. And she's really worked hard to not hold on to stuff. So then I asked her about her diet. And the only one thing in her diet that was not what I wanted it to be, what I knew would help her, was that she drank 1 cup of coffee a day. Now, if I recall, she said it was Turkish coffee. Now, I'm not a coffee drinker. I have no idea what that means. And so I asked her, Are you willing to do an experiment and give up the coffee for 10 days? Because coffee revs the adrenals, triggers hot flashes. Okay. I don't care whether it's decaf or full calf. It all seems to do the same. So she said she did. She would rather. And so when she came back, I asked her how'd the experiment go. She went, it was good. I said, what did you notice for it? And she said, well, when I wasn't drinking coffee, I noticed I had very few hot flashes, and they were more like very mild warm waves. So I asked her, what do you want to do moving forward? And she said, well, the only thing in my diet that's not perfect is the coffee. I really, really enjoy the coffee. I am not going to give it up permanently. Okay, so that was her choice, right? She did the test. She knew the results. This was no longer me saying, when you give up coffee, you will see that your hot flashes are much improved. She proved it to herself. Her decision was to keep the hot flashes and to use hormone replacement therapy, which is her choice. And I have to respect that. Remember that caffeine stresses the adrenals. Coffee is a diuretic. Between those two things, we deplete B vitamins. So even adding B vitamins to her would not be enough to counteract the effects of the coffee. There's no supplement strong enough to counteract the effects of coffee that I have yet found in my 40 years of working with women with hot flashes. So we were able to ascertain from her eyes why the symptoms existed. We were able to create or to test drive a possible solution. And then she had the choice. I think that's one of the things that is the hardest for most holistic practitioners to understand is we aren't healers. We are teachers. We give our clients the opportunity to learn and to experience better health. What they do with that education is up to them. And we need to not have an emotion attached to that. Because if we have emotion attached to that, we are going to be tired. We are going to be run down. We're going to be ill. Love your clients while they're with you. Let them make up their own minds what they're going to do. When they leave your office, send them out. You know, I'm a hugger. I send them out with a hug. And I don't worry about them till the next appointment unless there's a reason why I should. Which would be a high-risk pregnancy, for instance, right? So how do we use iridology then? We use iridology to guide our questions. We use it to create rapport. We use it to inform our recommendations. We use it to have a deeper understanding of our clients and their needs, how their body's put together, and all that kind of good stuff, right? And Ruby is saying, I missed some of this webinar. Can I go back and watch it anywhere? Great question, Ruby. It will be posted in a few days on YouTube. And it will also, the link to the replay will also be posted for practitioners in the dynamic iridology assessment system for holistic practitioners. For people who are not practitioners, the replay link will also be posted on the Iridology Education Facebook page. So yeah, you can go back and catch whatever you missed. All right, so when we are looking at iridology again, it's also important to remember that the map we use, the iris map, and I'm not showing you examples of iris maps here, but the iris map we use is going to have a strong influence on how we do iridology. And so I'm inviting you to go to iridology.education, the website, not the Facebook page, the website. And there's going to be an opt-in window there for you to opt in to download my iridology map. What you're going to find, if you're familiar with iridology maps that are out there, most of them are subdivided into absolute minute, tiny little reaction fields. We call them reaction fields. And so when we look at these, and actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you an example of one of them just on the camera here, not on the screen. And I am in no way saying this is a bad map. So if you've got this one, it's a beautiful map. But can you see, I'm going to try to get in real close, how tiny some of those areas are? Now they don't look tiny because this is like a 5-inch circle. But if you shrink that down to a 1/2 inch, how tiny are those areas going to be? Is it actually going to be even usable? And do you have anything, a herb that works on, say, just the vocal cords? Or do you have a herb that works on just the tongue, mouth, and lower jaw? Right, so this includes a lot of things that actually have no metabolic influence within the body. Now, having said that, when you go and you download the dynamic iridology map, it looks like this. So we are working with the Constitution here. We are working with understanding how an organ influences another organ, because the arm is not going to influence the liver, right? You get what I'm saying? The ankle is not going to influence the ovary. And so having organs that are not of importance metabolically is not useful. It clutters the map. When we have a simpler map like this, and for those of you who are actually on Instagram, sorry, I dropped that phone. That was odd. Yeah, let's do it this way for Instagram. There we go. Sorry, Instagram, I really messed that up. There we go. So this map, again, has only areas in it that are metabolically active. And when you understand your anatomy and physiology and you understand how organs impact each other, then it makes more sense to have a map like this. Does that make sense? It's not about getting more complex, it's about getting simpler. It's about, and in the simplicity, we actually have the complexity, right? Ooh, that was deep. All right, okay. Iglesias Roy, yes, I saw that. I'm sorry. Now you see things, right? And I apologize for that. What I was showing was this map, which if you go to the website, www.iridology.education, you can download the map. And thank you for letting me know that I really had a faux pas there. Shar is saying, love this. Shar, I'm so glad you do. I'm so glad you do. This is why I teach iridology to practitioners especially. Now, some of you who may not be practitioners, I've had enough requests that I'm in the process of creating a program, an iridology program for you that will cover all the same curriculum, but you will be able to do it at your own pace rather than keeping up with a weekly assignment. Right, and that will give you time to study anatomy and physiology as you need to actually understand what we're talking about when we do iridology. All right, so just a very soft little announcement here, and that is, just double check, okay. That is that the next go round of Confident Nutritionist, the Dynamic Iridology Assessment System. So this is for holistic practitioners. We'll be starting on January 28th. And course registration is open. It's not a big launch yet. That will come later on. But I will be doing an info webinar early in November. If you'd like to attend that to learn more about this program, then PM me or DM me or somehow get your email address to me so that I can make sure that you are included in the emails that go out to announce the info webinar. If you are not a holistic practitioner, send me your information and I will add you to a separate list, but let me know that you want the non-practitioner version of the course. I will add you to that list, and as soon as it's ready, you will receive some emails about it as well. So just wondering if there's any more questions anywhere. I'm not seeing any on Instagram, but if there is a question, please post it. And I'm not seeing any more come through on the webinar itself. And again, I have not done a great job of monitoring the different Facebook pages. My apologies, but I will look for comments and questions there as well. And yeah, that's all I've got for you today. I hope that was informative as an introduction to iridology. And Marina, I hope I landed on your question and gave you what you needed to know there. And yeah, hopefully that landed for you. And Hopefully you've got a clearer understanding of what iridology is, what it can tell us, why it works, and how we should be using it. Thank you so much for being with me today. I normally do a Facebook Live on Fridays as well. I will not be doing one this Friday, but I will be back Wednesday, October 21st at 11 a.m. I will see you then. Take good care and have a great week. Bye for now.